Hello, I'm Henry Keane. This is News Pulse at UATV, and welcome to the show. Today in the episode, Ukrainians and American made ATACMS. They made it the way supposed to act to be used. Shahid launch site targeted successfully in vicinity of airport in temporarily occupied Donetsk. America and Qatar are in talks to buy Ukrainian Interceptor drones. The deal choice is Ukrainian drone producer Skyfall and their P-1 Sun type interceptors. Swedish police operation reveals and then detains one of the Russian Shadow fleet tankers. Well, less shadow, more light. Thank you, Sweden. The armed forces of Ukraine used ATACMS and Scalps missiles the way these American means of war were created for, to strike Russian Shahid drones this time. Launch site near the Donetsk airport. The Ukrainian General Staff has confirmed this and showed exciting video fireworks show. The strike triggered secondary detonations even and ignited a massive fire at the scene. As a cherry on the top, Ukrainian defense forces successfully hit a UAV storage warehouse nearby. Russians attempted to seize the Donetsk airport since 2014, when for the first time invaded Ukraine and when the front lines were located right there. The heroes who defended this site, the airport, in an epic fierce combat that lasted for over 240 days, became then known as cyborgs for their inhumane abilities, really, and motivation. But during that time, a phrase became a meme: the cyborgs endured, the concrete did not. And still, today, Russians obviously just can't use this Ukrainian airport for their military needs. This time because of American weapons fired at them and the experience and motivation of new cyborgs, Ukrainian Armed Forces artillery. Unidentified drones struck all of a sudden an oil pumping station in Russia's Krasnodar region. Explosions were heard overnight in Armavir, the city that is known as a major industrial hub. A large fire broke out. Following the attack, fuel tanks were set ablaze, igniting in turn the petroleum storage facilities. Armavir is a pivotal hub for petroleum products, pipeline logistics. At this facility, fuel is pumped through the trunk pipeline, stored in tank farm, and subsequently then dispatched via rail. Well, damage to this site impacts the entire petroleum transportation system in Russia within this sector, of course, and this is exactly what just happened. Ukraine derailed Russia's occupation plans southward in Ukraine on the front line. What they need to achieve this goal is over a month and a half of time, an immense effort. According to Zelenskyy, the Ukrainian armed forces have carried out a series of critical operations focusing on both defense and offensive actions in several directions. And as a result, 435 square kilometers of Ukrainian land has been regained.
In the south of our country over the past month and a half, our armed forces have carried out a number of important actions related to defense and, in some areas, to offensive operations. These actions were aimed solely at disrupting Russia's plans. We believe we have been quite successful. We have restored control over about 400 to 435 square kilometers.
And also, President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, has personally visited the Donetsk Oblast. Just recently, the president posted a video recording in the community of Drushkivka, right near the front line where FPV drones fly permanently. He commented that Russian forces are preparing a spring offensive right there where he stands, and while Zelenskyy risks it and goes right to the front line personally, while Putin has other plans, obviously, including, amongst other things, the 8th of March congratulations to Russian women that somehow went a bit wrong or not.
Да, вы знаете, давайте-ка я еще раз скажу, потому что перешел, да?
The United States and Qatar are not only eyeing, but now also in talks to buy Ukrainian interceptor drones to help counter Iranian attacks in the Middle East. The deal choice could be Ukrainian producer Skyfall, P-1 Sun type interceptors producer, as Reuters reports, citing sources.
The interest has been expressed, and we have already received inquiries from our allies and countries of the Middle East. The company is ready to provide any necessary assistance if we receive the green light from the government. Aries, Skyfall representative.
Skyfall's Interceptor already proved its combat efficiency by destroying as much as 1,500 Shahed and about 1,000 other drones in 4 months since deployed into combat action. The company estimates that it can produce up to 50,000 interceptor drones per month and export about 5 to 10,000 without harming Ukraine's defense needs. The mathematics is simple. Iranian Shahed 136 costs from $50,000 to $100,000 per piece, while Skyfall positions their P-1 Sun as a cost super effective solution. For the Ukrainian army, the cost of one drone is just $1,000. Depending on the configuration, of course, exporting sales price, according to RS, may be higher, but even if 2 or even 3 times higher still, quote, is a drastically better solution if compared with millions and millions of dollars wasted on each Patriot missile to down just one Iranian drone. However, company representatives said that the lack of pilots could hinder the use of Ukrainian interceptors in the Persian Gulf, and Ukraine is the only country whose drone crews are trained to use these systems in combat on literally that sky-high levels, while Russians, of course, also have pilots and drones and experience, but Ukrainian pilots are with no doubt way more extremely motivated, which has its influence on quality, quantity and frequency of innovation bred by pure combat necessity. Skyfall has its own pilot academy, by the way, that offers a 3-week course for novice pilots, and the company has said it is willing to send instructors abroad in the Ukrainian government if allows it for them. Skyfall also has remote control tech for its drones, which could theoretically allow them to control these drones from Ukraine during operations in the Persian Gulf. Yes, Ukraine and Russia indeed are the only 2 countries with extensive UAV modern piloting experience, and while Ukraine has chosen to be of service to the American people, whatever the relations with the current American administration might be, Russia did make its own choice, quite obvious if you ask me, though.
We have a strategic partnership with Russia. Military cooperation between Iran and Russia is not something new. It's not a secret. It has been in the past and is still there and will continue in the future. We have a very good partnership with Russia.
Now, ain't that strange, to say the least? And putting it mildly, really, when someone who has been elected by American people to defend American people does not seem to be worried too much when a country under the rule of severe authoritarian indicted ICC criminal he rolled the red carpet for helps Iran to kill Americans.
Do you see any evidence?
We don't know, but it's not doing very well. If they are, it's not helping much. If you take a look at what's happened to Iran in the last week, if they're getting information, it's not helping them much.
The war in Ukraine could have ended much earlier if Kyiv had the same level of anti-aircraft support that was deployed in the Persian Gulf region during the first week of the war with Iran, said Finnish President Alexander Stubb. Well, let me give it to you in easy figures. As per presidential advisor Dmytro Litvin, he confirms that during the 4 years of the war, Kyiv received just 600 Patriot missiles as American military aid, while the countries of the Gulf, in turn, fired more than 800 of them in the first days of the war, shooting down just 2,000 Iranian drones and more than 500 ballistic missiles. And now, these countries ask Ukraine to share its cheap and efficient drone interceptor pilots' experience and surveillance tech, while Russia helps killing American soldiers. And President of America, Donald Trump, turns blind eye to that. Wow. Swedish authorities have launched a formal investigation into crew member of the detained vessel Kafa, citing alleged violations of both national and international laws. Authorities stated that the ship, intercepted in Baltic waters, was sailing under a fraud flag. The Kafa is suspected of violating maritime law and national ship safety acts due to its severe unseaworthiness. Out of 11 crew members on board, the majority were Russian nationals. Why am I not surprised? But so, one after another, oil tankers, shadow fleet of Russia going back to a shadowy side, leaving the Kremlin with less fuel for its criminal war. More in the next story for you.
The Swedish Coast Guard detained a vessel from Russia's shadow fleet in the Baltic Sea. The dry cargo ship Kafa, which is under Ukrainian sanctions, was heading to St. Petersburg under the flag of Guinea. According to preliminary information, 6 months ago the vessel sailed under the Russian flag and may be involved in the theft of Ukrainian grain from Russian-occupied Crimea.
The ship is suspected of sailing under false flag in Swedish territorial waters. The boarding was carried out Friday afternoon by operators from the Police Special Intervention Unit. The operation, called Black Coffee, was swiftly carried out according to plan. The Swedish Coast Guard are now in charge of the investigation concerning the ship, from a message on the Swedish police website.
Investigative actions are continuing on board the vessel. As reported by Sweden's Minister of Civil Defense, the owner is not yet reliably known. There is also suspicion that the Kafa lacks insurance.
The authorities' investigation will determine whether this vessel complies with the requirements established for navigation in our waters. Actions against vessels in Swedish waters are based on an independent legal assessment by the authorities. In light of the serious threat posed by the shadow fleet, the government considers it necessary to take active countermeasures. Carl Oskar Bolin, Minister for Civil Defense of Sweden, on X.
In early March, the Belgian armed forces, with support from France, detained the tanker Ithera from Russia's shadow fleet. The Belgian government stated that several dozen violations were identified, mainly concerning fake certificates. And incidentally, Ithera, like Kafa, sailed under a false Guinean flag. After paying a bail of 10 million euros, inspections, obtaining a genuine flag and certificates, the tanker will be able to resume sailing, the Belgian authorities explained. The European Union intends to tighten restrictions on Russia's shadow fleet within the framework of the 20th sanctions package. The measures envisage moving from a price cap to an actual ban on maritime services for such vessels, as well as legal grounds for their interception and inspection.
Really, the sanctions are working, our actions are working, and this also sends a clear and unmistakable signal that we're serious about countering the shadow fleet, and also by closing every loophole that Russia seeks to exploit. What we have right now is that the foreign affairs ministers have agreed to sanction shadow fleet vessels on a rolling basis. We have also the shadow fleet coordinator since October, 20th of October last year, and he's also in close touch with the member states to coordinate and also to see any type of good practices that we can use in this regard. So what we do right now is to pass a very strong message on acting to stop Russia's capacity to finance this war of aggression against Ukraine.
The European Union must change its legislation to be able to confiscate Russian oil, stated President Volodymyr Zelenskyy in an interview with The Independent. After all, Russia uses revenues from fuel exports to finance the war against Ukraine.
The question is to all the countries, EU and Europe wider. It's all about internal legislation. It's all about changes in the internal law to have rights to confiscate Russian oil after they are stopping the tankers, not to allow them in 3-5 days after the decision of court, quick decision mostly, by the way, and to allow them go. And so they don't lose anything, only a little bit because they stopped for some days. So that's why we need confiscation.
The escalation in the Middle East has led to a spike in oil prices on the world market. Moscow hopes to profit from this crisis. But on the other hand, it fears that if the regime in Iran falls, Iranian oil will begin to be traded openly. After all, then there will be even fewer willing buyers for sanctioned Russian oil, and Russia's budget deficit will grow even larger. Reported by Victoria Chistukina, UATV News.
Well, it seems to be it for today, at least. My name is Henrik Keen. Thank you so very much for watching this segment. Please maybe leave a comment and subscribe to our channel so to stay tuned to what tomorrow brings for all of us. UATV will be there to give it to you in Ukrainian perspective. Trust me, stay tuned and thank you. Goodbye.